Gracelin, good to have you with us. I'm just curious about your view on what China did. What is your read on this?
You know, what China is really doing is reminding us that it has the ability to flex its muscles and it can impact our supply chains. In a way, there has been a sense of normalcy that people have felt, although not real, that, hey, China's paused restrictions. And what they're really showing us, especially following tightening G7 cooperations, following significant investments from the US government, is, hey, we still have control. Is it going to have an immediate impact on a company like MP Materials? Probably not, because they've really worked to create that ex-China supply chain end to end.
So, I mean, it's interesting. I feel like this battle that's going on, Gracelin, and I'm just increasingly, like I think about last week more broadly, you saw the group of 7 countries have agreed that no single country should supply more than 60% of their imports of rare earths by 2030 in an effort to reduce their reliance on China. Is the world kind of pushing back and saying, as a group, folks, we've got to diversify this. We've got to make sure that the rest of the world has access to these critical minerals or these rare earths? It's really a major pushback against China, and rightfully so.
Critical minerals have become the linchpin over the last year and a half of multilateral cooperation. And what we saw after last year's rare earth export restrictions was that every country was impacted by it. So it became a natural point of collaboration. Now, of course, this is a really ambitious goal. Like, to contextualize this, Japan was first impacted by rare earth export restrictions in 2010, and they have invested intensely into their diversification journey. But 16 years on, they still haven't achieved reliance. So it's certainly an ambitious goal.
Where is the U.S. right now in achieving its goal?
The U.S. is early. I mean, what the U.S. has done is unprecedented in terms of the billions and billions of dollars it is allocated to rare earth mining, processing, and permanent magnet manufacturing. However, it's no secret that the industry is very, very long term. So it takes decades to build those mines. It's still looking at about 5 years before you're into ramped up separation. And then again, a lot of this technology when it comes to permanent magnets is very early stage. USA Rare Earths received funding for a pilot from Department of Energy in May 2026. So it's early and it's a long-term undertaking. So while we're on the right track, we're not going to be at self-sufficiency in the next 2 years.
Is the government still all in on this?
The government is all in, and we've seen funding and investments coming out of various government agencies: Development Finance Corporation, Export-Import Bank, Department of Energy, Department of War. If you've seen a whole of government approach, it's really been on rare earths and permanent magnets.
There's something interesting going on between rare earths companies that I'd love to get your view on. Our own Jacob Lawrence yesterday reporting that USA Rare Earths is pushing back against allegations by MP Materials, calling a lawsuit filed by its rival an attempt to hinder the company's growth. If you haven't been following this, everybody, the company refuted MP's claim that USA Rare Earth improperly obtained and used confidential information from a former MP employee. USA Rare Earth said in a filing in the 8th District of the Texas Business Court on Monday that it will deny each and every allegation made by MP. Now, normally I wouldn't ask you about two companies going after each other, but these are two companies at the center of trying to build up a supply chain here in the U.S. of critical minerals. I'm curious if this is something we should take seriously or if it's a bit of a sideshow when it comes to the domestic build out of the rare earth supply chain.
Look, I mean, the first thing that this underscores is how technologically advanced this industry is. And what we have to remember is that a company like MP Materials has spent years and years building these capabilities. They've invested billions into developing kind of proprietary technologies. So their competitive edge is coming from this innovation investment. To now, undermine that, you have two competing interests. You have the national security element, which is saying, okay, the country needs more rare earths, but you also have the corporate level interest, which was we've invested billions into proprietary technology, and companies taking that is not, it's not positive. So you're seeing that tension exist. So what it underscores again is that it's technologically complex and that there are going to be companies that operate within the United States who feel a really enormous tension. And we shouldn't undermine how much money they've invested into building these capabilities.
One of the things, going back, Gracelin, if we can, to China, that we've seen it in industries before, where they have dominated it and then just cut prices to make sure they have a domination of a market, whether it's been steel or textiles or solar panels. And I just wonder, when it comes to this move by the G7, do we need to see some kind of export controls or price controls or some kind of pushback against China in order to make sure that other nations can build up critical minerals and rare earths, that they can actually build up that supply chain?
Ronald Reagan once said, if you want more of something, subsidize it. If you want less of something, tax it. And what we're doing is looking at both instruments, right? And I mean, if you look at it, doing the price floor with Linus for their Malaysia facility, doing a price floor with MP Materials, doing concessional financing and equity is that subsidy to get more of it, right? We want to incentivize the development of these capabilities. At the same time, I mean, tariffs are a really important part of that equation to level the playing field. However, the complicated reality we sit with is that we are in an economic coercion structure whereby if we increase our tariffs, China can retaliate and cut off access. So it's a delicate game, but it would be surprising to see tariffs leave the discussion between the two countries when it comes to rare earths and permanent magnets.
So I'm just wondering, you're in Vegas, right?
I am.
Is it because you think you can win at the slot machines and you have a better chance of that versus your view on the U.S.? I'm having some fun with you, but the U.S. actually developing these supply chains. I mean, I'm just wondering, can it actually be done? Will it be done?
So I don't gamble because I've never won. I've worked out that that's just not something for me because I always lose money. However, where I am is the Fast Markets Lithium Conference this week, and the price floor discussion continues. As we know, I mean, we have a dual challenge of trying to keep our Western companies online while also ensuring that they cut a profit, especially in an environment where demand is lagging. Ultimately, to get prices up in the long term, it's going to be increasing demand. Increasingly, what we're seeing, though, is that companies are willing to pay a security premium, whereby manufacturers are saying, okay, at the risk of having a disrupted supply chain where I can't access my material, I would rather pay more upfront. As we do that, we reduce the demand for Chinese minerals. So while it is complicated in a high risk sector, obviously you have geopolitical risks, technology risks, traditional commodity risks, you are seeing companies play more proactively into investing in that security premium.
We're talking about the midterms because we're just a few months away, and there are primaries happening here in New York today. I'm just wondering how companies that are making these investments right now are sure that if there's a new presidential administration, these investments will still be supported by the government.
It's fascinating because one of the challenges we continue to hear is that political durability is one of the things that companies are wondering about. Look, the benefit is that neither party disagrees about critical minerals. I mean, it is the most bipartisan agenda in Washington, D.C. However, you're also realistically starting to see congressional inquiries into certain transactions. So, it's very likely, especially with the way midterms are looking like they may shake out, that there will be pushback on certain transactions. However, what we don't see is that all, of these deals are going to go up in pause.